and welcome to today's video. In today's video, we'll be creating a button library with components and variants, and of course with our color and number variables we've created in the previous videos. If you haven't seen them, please go back and watch those videos so you can know how to go about creating color tokens and number tokens. Now, this is the button we're going to be creating today. As you can see, this button is very dynamic. Coming over to the property panel, you can see that this button can switch to primary, to secondary, to text button, to an elevated button, and it can also switch from default to hover, to selected state, and to a disabled state. Now, you can turn on and off the icons in the button. So if you want one icon to appear inside the button, you can turn off the other one. You can turn them both off. You can change the text inside. Get started. And you can decide to make it an icon button. Now this is what we have. And coming down to the appearance part of this panel, when you click on it, you will see the variables that we've already created in this file. We have our button component, which can help you switch from small button to the medium size button and to the large button. And from our previous video, we have the semantic color modes that we created. You can switch from primary to success color. You can switch to warning, and you can switch to error. So let's go back to the primary color. So these are all the things you can do with this button. Let's turn on the text and turn on the other icon. So also, this button was prototyped. So when you click on this frame and you click on shift and space, this prototype is going to come out, and you can see you can hover on the button and it's just responsive, and when you click on it, it's going to switch to the pressed state. So let's go ahead and click on it. Yeah, now this is it. So we're going to start working on the buttons right now. In order to make this video short, because I don't want it very long, today we're going to work on our buttons and work on the prototype, and in the next video we're going to work on creating the different modes for the button, which is the large, medium, and small. So let's go ahead and work on the buttons. Now, before we start working on our buttons, in the previous video I talked about addressing something from that video. So when you make sure you're clicking on nothing, you come to the local variables, you're going to see this sizing token that we created. So I wanted to address that you always ensure that you reference your tokens to your primitives. So in that video, these numbers, the values were just 4, 8, 16. Over here, let me show you something. When I detach this and detach this, so this was how we created this sizing token, and of course it gave us the results we wanted. But to the essence of creating variables is so that you can reference the variables. So in a situation where you have to make changes to the number variables, you don't even have to come to the tokens. You go straight to the primitives and make those changes. But in a situation where you just place it like this, it means that the changes will have to come from the tokens. So in order to link it to your primitive, to reference it, you come here and you're going to go straight to your number scale, and we're going to reference it. We'll give it 8. And for this, we're going to come to the primitives. You see primitives, number scale, and we're going to give it 4. So that is it about this. So let's go ahead and create our button. First thing we want to do is to click T on the keyboard and drop it and type button. Alright, we want this to be plus Jakarta San, bold, 16. Now let's give it a color. Now you can't see it, so we'll give it an auto layout by clicking Shift A on the keyboard, and we'll give it a fill so you can see it. Now the fill, we're going to give it one of our semantic color, which is going to be the surface default. And we're going to go ahead and give this a corner radius of 8. Now our button is almost done. We want to come over here and pick our icon. So we want a home icon. So we're going to come over here, copy, and come here, Command V to paste. With the arrow key on my keyboard, I want to move it to the left hand side. Alright, now we're going to pick another button from here. Let's pick this arrow, copy. I will come over here and Command V. Alright, now I want the sizes for this button to be 16 because this is our small button. So we're going to work on our small size button, and after that, in the next video, after creating this button, giving it the instant swap and boolean properties and prototyping it, in the next video I'll show you how you can create different modes, size modes for this button. So this is going to be the small button. We'll now create 2 more modes, which will be the medium and large. So let's go ahead and give this 16 and this 16. Okay, all right, so our button is ready. Our primary button, the default, is ready. Okay, so we want to go ahead and create for the hover. So all we have to do is to click Alt and drag. Yeah, I want to make sure they are aligned. Alright, now to give this that hover effect look, we're going to come over here and change the color to dark. Yeah, and for the selected, now this will be when you this will be the default button, and when you hover on it, you get this button, and when you click, this will be the button you would see, unless this button has a command. That is, if you click, maybe it takes you to another page, or it just creates another action. But if not, it's going to just bring you to this button. So when we're doing the prototype, you're going to understand better. So we're going to give this the default color. Yeah, and we're going to go ahead and duplicate this. This will be the disabled, so we're going to give it the disabled color. So we'll come over here and give it the surface disabled. Yeah, and for the text, we can give the text disabled. Same with the, yeah. So looking at this button, you're going to know that it's not clickable. Yeah, but it has a kind of subtle blue color. Now I'll go ahead and create the other buttons. So I'm going to do this very quickly. Alright guys, so now we're done with all our buttons. You can just go ahead and play with this and give it any color you want. So for the primary buttons, they all have fill to it. The disabled is here. You might not really notice it, but it's just here. And for the secondary button, we just have a stroke round them. For the text button, they have a very subtle color for the background. And for the elevated, I just added an effect to them, drop shadow, to make it look elevated. Now the next thing we want to do is to highlight all the buttons and make them a component set. So what you want to do is come to this icon, click on it, and you see create component set. Yeah, and now we have all our 16 buttons ready to go. So these are the icons I'm using. When we were creating the instant swap, you're going to see why this button was brought here, and all the buttons are components. So I took an instance of it. These two buttons inside, these two icons inside the button, they are instance from the main component here. So I'm going to go ahead and just remove this icon from here, or I would leave it so you see what I'm talking about. Now we want to come to this first button, click on the icon, then I'll click command and slash. This is going to come up and I want to select all with the same instance. So all the home icons have been selected. Now I would advise that when you want to create component properties, that's the instance swap and boolean property and all that, first of all I will advise you go for the instance swap first, because when after you create the instance swap and then you come to the boolean property, you can go ahead to give the boolean property value to be false. You understand what I'm saying in a bit. So I'm going to come over to this icon again, and you see create instance swap property. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it, and this would appear. I'll give the name to be the left icon, because we have two icons inside the button. So in order to identify the one we're working on, I'll just give it left icon and right icon. So this is the left icon, and the value is the home icon. So another thing you want to know here, where they have the preferred value. Now when you click on this plus, you'll notice that these are all the icons I have in this file. Like at the left hand, the icons I showed you that are components. Now you have to make sure that the icons are components. If not, they are not going to, the instant swap is not going to work. Now the purpose of this is for you to select the icons you likely want to see when you want to swap. Now if I don't want a home icon in my button and I want another icon, maybe the left arrow, right arrow, or this apple, I can just go ahead and select the icons I want to see, the icons I want to swap with, the icons that are already inside the button. But I don't want to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and close. I'm going to go ahead and uncheck all this and close it. So I don't want any preferred value. I want to see all the icons. I'll go ahead and create the property. Now the next thing I want to do, while the icons are still selected, I'm going to come to this appearance that is on this property panel, and you're going to see this icon that says create boolean property. So when I click on it, this will appear. So this can help you turn on and off the button. So when we create this, I'm going to name it show left icon because it's the left icon. So show left icon. Now, assuming I fix this at false, it means that once I create this property, I will no longer see the home icons. And assuming I did this boolean property first before the instant swap, I won't see the home icon to select for the instant swap. That's why I said you should create the instant swap before you go ahead to create the boolean property. Unless you want to just go back to turn this to true, then you create the instant swap, but that would take time. That's why I said create your instant swap first. But I'm going to leave the value to true and I'll create property. Now the icons are still there. So the next thing I want to do is to pick the right icon, which is the arrow icon, and click command slash on the keyboard, and I want to select all with the same instance. So I'm going to come over to this icon again, and you're going to see apply instant swap property. So I'll click on it because we've already created one. If you come here and click here, it means that it will have the same functionality with the home icon. That means once you turn it off, the two icons will go off. So instead of linking it to this left icon, you want to go ahead and create property. So this would be right icon. And I don't want any value, so I'll just go ahead and remove this and create property. Then I'll come down to this appearance and I'll see apply boolean property. And this is the one we've already created, the boolean property we've created. So I don't want to link it to this. I'll create property and it will be show right icon. And I want to leave the value to true. So I'll create. Now let me show you what the icons can do. When I bring out this icon, you can see that I can actually change the icon. So let me do that again. I can actually change the icon, the home icon, to another icon here, and I can actually turn it on and off. So if I want just one icon in this button, I'll go ahead and just leave the icon I want. It could be the left, it could be the right one. You can turn the two icons off and leave just the text if you want it to be a button text. And I can also change the right icon. So these are the things that these properties, this can help you achieve. Yeah. So the next step, I want to create a boolean property for this button, for the text inside the button. And why is that? Because I want a situation where I can turn off this text and leave just the icon, so it becomes an icon button. And I'm also going to create a text property for it. So let me go ahead and delete this. Now, why I wanted to remove this icon is because of this text. Now, when I click on the button, click enter, enter to select the text, and I click command and slash to select all text layers. Now, the problem I'm having now is that even on this icon frame, there are some text, so everything is kind of selected. So that was why I wanted to remove the icon. So I'll go ahead and remove the icon right now. So what I did was to copy it and cut it and paste it in another page. So when we select our text, this text outside here, they are going to be selected too, but since they are not much, I'm just going to unselect them. So holding shift, I'll just go ahead and unselect them because I want them to still show, so we know the buttons we're creating and the naming. All right, now just the text has been selected. You want to come to this property panel, go to the typography section, and you see button, and you see this icon that says create text property. when we click on it, the name, we're going to give it label. Yeah, because it's the label of the button. It tells you what the button is for. It could be get started or any action, any call to action. So it's going to be label, and I'll leave the value to button. You can actually change it. That's why we're creating this text property. Now the second thing I said I wanted to do with the text is to create a boolean property for it. So I'm going to create that, and this will be show text, and I'll leave it to true. So now what we just did is I can actually, let me drag this out. Now I can actually close this button. I can actually close that icon and close the text too, and I'll be left with just this icon. That was why I created a boolean property for the text. So in a situation where you just want to use the icon button, you can use it. And when you want to use icon and text, you turn it on. If you want the right icon instead of the left icon, you can go ahead and do it. So the next part we want to do, the next thing we want to do is to name these buttons. So we're going to start with the primary buttons. What we want to do is to select the primary buttons we have, and firstly, when you click on this component, you're going to see that it's named as component 1, but I want to rename it to button library. All right, so I want to come to this property 1 and name it button types. Button type. So I'll go ahead and pick all this will be the button types: the primary, secondary, text, and elevated. So, and these ones up here, they are going to be the states, the different states. So I'm going to pick all the primary buttons, and I'm going to come to this button type and name it primary button. Yeah, so it's the primary button now. Then I'll come here, hold command, and select this, and I'm going to come to the button type. You can see it's mixed because the frames are just named frame 1, frame 2, frame 3, the buttons, but I want to name them now to secondary buttons. So all right, now ignore this message, this error text, because the naming is conflicting. The names are conflicting, but by the time we're done naming each and every one of the button, you won't get this message again. So let's go ahead and select the text button. So I hold command and copy and drag, and I want to come here and name it the text button. Then for the last button type, which is the elevated button, we'll come here and give it elevated button. All right, so now the next thing we want to do, because we have our button types here, you want to come here and click on add, is click on variant, and we're going to name this next property button states. And we can leave the value to be default because we're going to rename everything. So we want to come here, I'll click on command and drag, and I'm going to leave it at default here because these are the default buttons. So I'm going to come over here, holding command, I would select, sorry, the first button wasn't selected. So holding command, I'll select this hover buttons and come over here and name it hover. Yeah. So you see there is hover here now. Then the next is selected. Hold command drag and I'll name this selected. So yeah. And the last one disabled. So holding command drag. I want to come here and name it disabled. Yeah. So we have our button states: default, hover, selected, disabled. And our button type, we have primary, secondary, text, and elevated. So you won't get those messages again when you highlight on this. So when we bring this out, we can change this button from primary to secondary to elevated to hover, disabled. So these are all the things we can do with our button. We can change the text inside the button to notification, and we can go ahead and close this. Then for the right icon, we can go ahead and change the icon to this bell, and here we have our notification bell. So this is it about creating our buttons. They are all ready. Now the next thing we want to do is to prototype it. So you come to the prototype section, you click on this button, because from the primary button, from the default button, you want to get this button while hovering. You want it to change to the primary hover button, instant. Now from this hover, when you click on it, you want it to come to this selected state, so it's going to be on tap. Now you don't have to prototype for the disabled button because the disabled button doesn't really have a function. You can't click on it. So we'll go to the secondary button and do the same thing. This will be while hovering, and this will be on tap. Yeah. For the next one, the text button, while hovering, on tap. The next one, while hovering, and this will be on tap. Now let's bring in a phone frame. I clicked F on my keyboard, then I'm going to come here and pick the iPhone 14 and 15 Pro. Yeah, let me bring it up here. Now I want to select this button, command V. Yeah, I've pasted it. Align center vertically and horizontal. Yeah, and we want to come here. I'll click shift and space on my keyboard, and now you can see that when you hover on this icon, on this button, you get that hover effect. So we're going to go ahead and click on it, but when we click on it, it just brings us to the selected state, because this button is not taking us to another page or anything. So it's going to bring us to that selected state, but that doesn't mean you can't use it in your design. If you use it in your design, when you hover and click on it, it won't take you to the selected state. Rather, it's going to take you to the page you've linked the button to. So it's going to take the action that is important. So instead of just bringing you to that selected state, it will just take you to whichever page you've linked the button to. So when we click on it, now we're on the selected state. I've switched it to the elevated state. to the secondary. So this is really helpful. So that is it for our video today. In the next video, I'm going to show you how you can switch this button to a different mode, a medium mode and large mode, and you can change the color to primary color, to error, warning, or success states. So that is it for today. Please, if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share the link with your friends. That will make me happy and it will help the channel to grow. It will motivate me to make more videos like this. So thank you very much and see you in the next video. Bye.